Okay, so our next issue, somewhat similar to the previous one, but a little bit different, is about entry control and user screening. Well, so what's this? Basically, entry control is to talk about do you want to allow someone to enter, alright? So user screening is about whether you want to take a look at this user's background, user's information, to see whether they are allowed to join or not. Okay, so somehow these are something that if you are a platform, you need to think about. So should a platform do entry control and user monitoring? Well, if the answer is yes, the first thing happens. It is costly, and the number of users is going to grow more slowly. All right. So this is something happens at Apple, right? Apple need to hire a lot of people. They need to somehow know something about app development, and then they need to check the submissions of those apps. All right. It's going to be cost you a lot, and then the number of users or the number of apps is going to grow slowly, naturally. If you say no, you don't want to do monitoring, then your platform is going to save some money. You don't need to do those expensive things. But of course, there will be some low quality users. If you don't control quality, obviously some low quality products will exist on your platforms. All right? So basically, the answer regarding this, of course, it depends. But you always need to consider trading risk. If you are doing a platform with high trading risk, then there will be a higher value for you to do user screening. Okay? So for example, for Uber, we all know that somehow if you are trying to be a Uber passenger, you're somehow worrying about the risk, right? Because you need to sit in a stranger's car, and you also understand that it's possible that there is some risk. So that's why Uber Taiwan, they would say, okay, you need to be 21 years old or above. You need to have a driver's license. You cannot have crime or serious accidents in the past. And actually, your driver's license need to be a professional driver. And your car must be registered to be specific use. All right. So there are some rules set by Uber Taiwan to require one guy that can become a Uber driver. All right. Not everybody can do that. Only those ones who are able to follow these rules may be a Uber driver. That's some kind of user screening, right? Or there is also an app called Chariot for Women. Basically, this another Uber. Okay, it exists somewhere in the world. You may want to check it by yourself. This is a women-only Uber in some sense. So basically, that says if you want to join our platform, passengers must be a woman, and drivers also need to be women. So only women, only female users are allowed to join this platform. Why is that? Why this platform want to ignore the other half of the people in the world? Well, probably that's because in some countries, it's not so safe for a girl to sit in a car driven by a boy. Alright? Also, in that case, maybe it would be better or it would be more convincing or make some people comfortable that all the two sides are made by girls or women. Okay, so that a girl may safely may feel safe to enter the other's car. Okay, and that only happens if you are in a country or if you are in a region that you have this specific concern. That means if you have higher trading risk, then you have higher restriction, higher possibility for use to do user screening. All right. So now the issue is, do we have any way to have the monitoring effect, but we don't want to pay those money by ourselves, right? Is there any way to get this monitoring effect without having our platforms do everything by ourselves? Well, we may try to do indirect monitoring. So we impose some mechanism onto our platforms to allow the people on our platforms to monitor each other in some sense. So this is regarding an adverse selection issue, hidden information, right? You don't know the quality. You don't know whether this guy is good or bad. So adverse selection regarding screening and the signaling. So let's consider this one. Maybe we may let users to do self-selection and signal themselves. So there are several typical ways. So first, you impose some kind of membership fee, registration fee, listing fee for joining a platform. So you are not really trying to use these fees to generate money. If you really want to generate money, typically transaction fee or revenue sharing is a better idea. If you are imposing listing fee on a C2C marketplace, or if you impose some membership fee for any kind of club, basically what you are doing is to try to screen out those guys that are not serious, alright? On a C2C marketplace, you don't want someone to upload or to sell trash on your website. If you are running a club, you don't want those poor guys or those guys who are not willing to use your platform seriously to enter. So that's why we want to charge some money for entering. So don't forget, even though this looks like pricing, but actually it's not a pricing issue. It's not about revenue generation. It's about quality control. Okay? If someone sees these kind of options and they choose to leave, then somehow we know something from them. They signal themselves as they don't want to use it. They are not serious enough. Or if someone chooses to use, they again send a signal saying that they are serious. So maybe we are able to be to trust them somehow. And then there are some other websites or platforms that impose a very time-consuming application process. You need to submit a lot of things. You need to complete a questionnaire with 500 questions. For some dating websites, they do this. All right. If you are not serious enough, you're not going to pass through this application process, then, well, it's you that give up this chance. All right. Or some platforms, they reward users for doing self-identification. So you are allowed to join our platform in any way, but you may get more functions that you may use only if you identify yourself, only if you give us your credit card information, only if you give us your home address, for example. All right? So you don't need to do that, but you are allowed to do that. So you don't require one to provide full information when they join, but you give them options. You may join without providing this information, or you may join by providing this information. Then that's some kind of ways for people to signal themselves regarding how serious they are in using this platform. So that's one thing. The second thing is that maybe we want to try to do screening, all right? One thing is signaling, one thing is screening. So users may be motivated, or you may allow users to screen each other, or to, for example, rate each other. So rating and reviewing are very popular in many platforms, like all those C2C marketplaces, like all those online shopping malls, like Uber, like Airbnb. All we have are rating systems and review systems. Okay? On social websites or forums, we also know that there are monitoring systems. If you see a post that seems to be weird, if you see a post that is not good, then you may tell the platform that there is something wrong here, regarding posts, regarding articles, regarding photos, regarding users. All right. So it's of course controversial because many people is asking about whether platforms are having the right to judge the good or the goodness or badness of a post, a user, or whatever. Do they have the right to control all of this? But anyway, if you are running a platform, you understand that this may be something that you need to consider, because that may give you a chance for all these users to think of to help you do the monitoring. All right. If you don't allow this mechanism, then maybe you need to do all the things by yourself. And if you are not quick enough, then your platform will be full of dangerous things. All right, so that's something to keep in mind. So here comes a question. Let's take a look, or let's consider the company LendingClub. LendingClub is a very famous P2P lending platform. So this company do customer screening or not? That's the question that we want to ask you. So it doesn't really matter whether LendingClub is really doing this thing or not. Let's try to put your eye on LendingClub or any P2P lending platform. Suppose you run a P2P lending platform. Should you screen your customer? That means, do you allow only customers satisfying certain conditions to use your platform to borrow money or lend money? Okay? Do you want to check their credit history? Do you want to require them to be old enough? Do you want to have them show their financial reports and so on and so on, financial status and so on and so on? All right? So basically, that's something you need to consider. Obviously, there are some issues. Maybe that is something that you may want to think about. So there may be some issues about first mover advantage. As a platform, you always want to acquire users, for example here, borrowers and lenders as quickly as possible. All right? So you want to get big fast in some sense. All right? But maybe that's not something you need to do. So if you want to get big fast, you somehow should lower the degree of screening so that you may have a lot of users, so that you may get some first mover advantage. But if you do that, of course, that's going to create some bad things. And because of information asymmetry, maybe that's going to create some troubles for you to keep growing, right? Or you may think about, again, network externality. You understand that all these users on your platform, they are affecting each other, right? So considering all of this, let's just ask you this very simple question. If you run a P2P lending platform, do you want to do any kind of customer screening or not? Okay? So think about this, and we will go back this when we are in the discussion session.